All right, class. We're gonna do chapter 3 now, and it talks about how to read the floor plans. But before you know how to read the floor plans, you need to understand what is it that you're looking at. And like I told you before, a lot of the information you're gonna be, or the primary plan you're gonna be looking at is gonna be the floor plan. Because from the floor plan, there's a lot of information that it's referenced to different sheets with different symbols and different lines and so on and so forth, which we will be discussing in chapter 3, 4, and 5. But before anything, you need to know what is it that you're looking at. Before you look at symbols and referencing and all those things, you need to look first of all what is it that you're looking at. What is where are the boundaries? Where are the walls? What rooms am I looking at? So we're gonna start basic in chapter 3. Again, you should read chapter 3, and I'm just gonna go through it briefly. I'll probably do several videos so I can cut it in sections. But the first section I want to talk to you about, and again, you should have this on Blackboard. Is there? There we go. Floor plans. It's you telling the builder what is it that you want. Of course, what is it you want to build, and where's the location of the rooms, stairs, restrooms, and all that. That's you're gonna put it on your floor plan, and you're gonna separate it with walls. Okay, and so that's the first thing we're gonna look at. How do you distinguish walls? How do you know where the walls are? Floor plans. I told you this in class. Basically, if you want to picture it, how it looks or how it works, it's like if you were to get a huge saw and cut the building like about 4 feet high, and pull that top part, and then whatever you're seeing, it's what you are drawing or whatever is on the plan. Let me see. I think in the book it has some an image in this regard. Let me see. This one. See, this is basically what it is. Here, imagine this is like, well, actually it is 4 feet. Imagine you cut this like here 4 feet above, and that's what you're seeing. If you see here, see how that's the exterior, which is the exterior, and you have those lines projecting up. So basically, the idea, if you still haven't, grasp the idea what a floor plan is or how to read it, or how it looks like on a sheet of paper, just imagine this. You just got the house, and it gives you the shells. It has the interior walls. It has some notes and details. So this is basically what you will be looking at, or when you're drawing, that's what you have to have in mind. Oops, wrong. Where is it? Right here. Okay. And then here, residential floor plans are generally drawn at 1/4 equals a foot, which again is generally drawn, not necessarily. It depends on the size of the house and also the size of the sheet you want to print on. So again, this is generally, but not necessarily. So just keep it in mind. So don't think when you're drawing it has to be a quarter scale, or if somebody prints on a different scale, don't think don't think it's wrong. Again, it depends on the size of the building and the size of the sheet, but generally it's drawn at 1/4 scale. Okay, then here's have some samples. Let me zoom in. What is it that we're going to be talking about? And I'm going to show you also a different plan, a commercial plan, so we can view some of those things. Okay, so first of all, when you see a floor plan, you need to distinguish where your walls. And remember, walls are made out of 2 lines, not 1. So I'm going to zoom a little more. And if you look at this here, it's the exterior wall, and it's 1 line and the other one. It represents the actual wall, the thickness of a wall. So when you're doing a floor plan, if you just draw 1 line, a line is not a wall. Just think of, if you wherever you're at right now, look at the wall that is there. If you were to cut it, wherever you are, I'm pretty sure you have a wall right next to you or close by. If you were to cut that, it has 2 faces. It has 2 sides. The one that you're looking at right now, and on the exterior, it has another face. So now it has two sides, 2 faces, and that's what these 2 lines represent. Okay, so if this is if you're inside the house, you'll see the sheetrock. If you're outside the house, you'll probably see the siding or whatever it's made out of. Okay, so 2 lines represent a wall. And the book talks about some sizes, which I'm gonna go and I'm gonna discuss in a bit. But first of all, you need to see where the walls, and here are your exterior walls. In case for this one, it goes out like this, and it comes out like this, like that, and then it shoots back. Now, what I want to show you here, see this is this exterior wall, it's coming up here, and then here you notice a difference. All right, let me zoom in. See this wall here, you have two lines up to this point, and then here you have two lines, and then you have this section line here. Again, it's hard to see because it gets pixelated, but in your book you should be able to see it. And it has a like section line, it has like lines at 45 going through it, and you see it here. Oops, you see it all the way over here, and then that's it. Yeah, so you don't see it in the back, you don't see it on the side, you only see it on the front. So again, visually you need to know what is that, what does this mean. Again, it's a plan. Every line you have there, or every symbol represents something. All right, so in this case, these lines you have there, and again, this is on your book, I might be jumping back and forth, but I'm going to talk about it as I go. So this line means veneer. I'm sorry, masonry, brick veneer, or some sort of veneer. That's what it shows. Or that's how you draw it. Okay, and I believe that's on page, I forgot what page it is, page 54 of your book, and I'm gonna go to it right now. But I'm just seeing, so you can see the symbols. Okay, so two lines represent a wall. If you have something like this, don't think it's a wrong wall. It's just saying that the wall is this one, and then there's something attached to that wall. When in this case, it's probably a brick. Okay, so it's a wall and it's brick. These right here that you see how you see a wall here up to this point, and then it cuts into different symbols. Well, these are windows. Okay, and again here there's a small window there, and then this right here that goes like that, and an angle and a curve and an angle, that's a door. So the doors you'll see on like this, and you'll see another door right here, opening there for the garage, window right there, door right there. Okay, so that's how you see it, window right there. And now the windows are a little bit different, and we're going to discuss them in a bit once we get to that point. All right, so walls, and then you have windows there too. So that's how you read them. Now, not all of them are going to be drawn exactly the same, because it might be that the windows are going to be different. Just like the wall, the exterior wall, and then here looks different. Well, it's because in the front there's something else going on. Now this window doesn't look exactly like that window, or this one doesn't look exactly like this one here. All right, so it depends on the window you're drawing. It's going to represent how you're drawing on your plan. Okay, so everything you draw has to represent what's in real life. So this is a plan, and then interior walls, you can see them here again. Two lines represent a wall. The best thing to do is when you see a plan, first thing that if you still haven't, mastered it, of how to read it, you can think about and just look for the names on the rooms. Okay, for example, this one says garage, shop, utility, dining, family, living, kitchen. So that tells you more or less what is it that you're looking at. And then after that, you can look, okay, where are the walls that separate the rooms. In this case, you have a wall right here that separates living from family. And there's a wall here that separates the living from this stairway. And then there's an opening right here to go to, in other words, to come into the house, and then you take a left, you go to the living room. Or you can take a right, and there's an opening right here. There's a wall right here, and then it's open. So you take a right here, you can go to the kitchen. And then if we want to go to the dining, then just by common sense, there has to be an access, and here it is. The wall comes right here, and then here's the access to go into the dining. And then you want to go to the restroom, of course, you go through here. There's nothing right here. It goes into the restroom. You're in the garage. You drive in. How do you get in? Well, you have one door here, but that's to exterior, and they have to walk into the front door. Or you look for the other door, which is right here. You get off, you go in, and you go into either, close to the kitchen so you can get your groceries out. And also, there's another entrance to the shop, just through the garage to get into the shop. So again, just look for where the rooms are, and then start figuring out what are the walls that separate those rooms, and then what access do I have for those rooms. That's the simplest way to do it. And then once you're there too, you kind of figure out where the doors are for each room, and also then after that you start looking for windows. Family room, how do I get to it? Okay, there's an open right here, there's an opening right here. All right, so I know what it is. Now, do I have windows? Yes, one there, one there. Dining, how do I get to it? You can come through here, you can come through this side, you can come through this side. Do I have doors or windows? Yes, I have a sliding door right there to get out. See? Garage. Do I have doors? Yes, I can come in or out through here, in and out through here. Of course, my garage door. Do I have windows? Right there. Kitchen, I can come through here, through this side. Do I have windows? Yes, one right here where the sink is at. So that's the simplest way of doing it if you still have trouble. And then after a while, you're just going to be doing this like easily and fast. So that's one way of doing it. Just look at the wall, look at the plan, start looking at the walls you have. It's still confusing for you. Look for the names. Once you get the names, you know where you're at, and then start looking at those rooms. Look for the walls of that room. After you figure out the walls, okay, what access do I have to that room? And start figuring out the doors. And then if I'm inside that room, do I have windows? And then start looking for the windows. Okay, that'll be I guess the simplest way of doing it when you're learning. Still, if you still have trouble trying to picture what is it you're looking at, right? There's another one here, a little bit simpler. Right here, yeah. Oh, maybe the second floor. It's probably the second, yeah, upper floor. So you go up right from the first, and then you're just here. You can take a right, and there's like a hallway here that takes you to the bath, and here's a door. It takes you to the bedroom, another door. You come down, another door to bedroom 3. There's a linen closet. There's the folding doors right there. You need to get to this area. Well, you're going to have to go to the bedroom door and then come through this door to get to the master bedroom, I guess, because it's bigger. And you're here, yeah, inside the, I guess, the master bedroom area, because then you have a closet right here, a walk-in closet. The door's right there. And then this way you have your tub, sinks, toilet, and it's private. Has a sliding door right there. And we're going to talk about doors in a bit. Okay, so, and then the shower, overhead shower. And the door is right there. So again, the best way of doing it is going in, look for the rooms, and then how to have access to those rooms. And once you're in there, that's going to tell you if you have a door. And now the doors are different. We're going to discuss them in a bit. You have doors, and then you have also if you have windows. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit faster because I don't want to spend too much time, and I want to make the videos too big. So then here you have some samples. We can talk about that in a bit. Let me continue. What else do we have here? Wall thicknesses. Usually walls on the exterior walls are thicker than the interior. Usually, again, but not always. For example, you have those of you that have or they have houses in Mexico, for example, they use CMU, which are block, and the same block they use for the exterior, sometimes they use it for the interior too. So in that instance or that case, the exterior wall is the same thickness as the interior wall. Okay, so that's why I say what I say. Walls on the exterior are usually thicker, but not necessarily. Okay, so in other words, the thickness of the wall represents on the materials that you have there. So of course, on an exterior wall, you probably have a brick, and then maybe the stud is bigger because you have a 2-story. Maybe the stud will be bigger, maybe 6-inch stud. And in the interior, an interior wall usually is going to be 4 inches. You don't have any brick unless you have a wall that has brick. So in other words, the thickness represents the actual material that you have there. Right? So just keep that in mind. And then the thickness, for this I want to show you, well, before I do that, I'm going to show you in images. Okay, you can go through that. And this one, wall shading, this depends on the firm you're going to work for, or whoever if you're doing your own stuff. Also, that's up to you. It is represented by 2 lines. Now, some designers or architects or firms decide to shade it just to make it easier to see. Some leave it blank, which personally that's what I do. Some shade it in a darker shade, not black, just dark gray or light gray. It's up to you. Again, it's up to the firm also, and it's easier to see the actual wall, interior walls, or where the stud is going to be, in other words. Some put grain effects, some put color. Again, it depends. And this is just a matter of preference. Okay? So don't say, okay, if it's dark, it means something else. Not necessarily. If it's light, this means something else. Not necessarily. Unless also maybe if there's a legend all shaded, or a legend that shows a shaded wall and it says that it's going to be a half wall, then you can connect that idea to the color. But if not, it's just a matter of preference. Okay. Um, okay, I'll cover that in a bit. Well, right here. Okay, before I do that, two different wall types, and they're not here in the book, or at least I haven't seen them. Are load-bearing walls and partitions. Load-bearing walls are walls that support or help support the weight coming down from the actual structure. Partitions are just walls that divide room to room. Okay, so now why is this important for you to know as a designer, or as if you're going to remodel? For example, you're going to remodel something in your house, and there's a wall you want to tear down. To open up the space, you need to find out first if that's a load-bearing wall or it's a partition. If it's a load-bearing wall, that means that somewhere in the roof there's a member coming down on that wall, and that wall is providing the support for a roof member or the roof. So imagine if you were to cut that wall, move that wall, just completely get rid of that wall or cut it, the stability is not there anymore. So that roof or roof member that was coming down, it's going to start caving in. Now, if it's a partition, you can do whatever you want with that wall. You can move it away if you want, and it's not supporting nothing on the top. So just keep that in mind. Load-bearing walls and partitions. Okay, partitions is just walls that don't have no support. Nothing's coming down on them, so you can move them if you want to, or make openings. But if it's a load-bearing wall, then you have to figure something out before you remove that wall. Okay, so keep that in mind. Partitions and load-bearing walls. Now let me go to the book, and I'll finish with this, at least for this first video. Let me see. This is what I want to show you. These representations are the plan that I showed you right now. It represents this one. Well, actually, any plan. Let's say this one. You saw that one. These walls here, these are walls seen from the top. Okay, you're seeing them from the top as plan view. That's what it is, a plan view. And that's what we saw right now, right? But if you were to cut through this wall, you will see them in section view. Okay, so imagine you're cutting through here, looking to that way or that way, you're actually seeing what's in between the wall. Right? So that's what I'm going to show you here. These are in section view. What does it represent? Actually, no, never mind. They're not in section view. I'm sorry, I apologize. They're not in section view. I was thinking something else. These are this is the actual wall. It's just cutting it for us to see what is it that we're looking at. Disregard. They're not section view. They're plan view, but just they're showing us exactly what is it that the line represents. Okay. So when you're drawing a wall, there's two ways of drawing it. One, you can do just the interior and the exterior wall. All right, the faces, in other words. So if the wall is 5 inches, you will draw 5 inches thick. You actually draw on the plan just this first line and that line right there. You're not drawing the stud. You're not drawing the thickness of the gypsum board. You're not drawing the thickness of the sheathing and the siding, this exterior. See, you're not doing those things. You're just drawing this line and that line. Okay, which is something like this. See, on the outside it's just a line and a line. So what we're seeing right now in the other page is that we're seeing that line and then what goes into the wall. But on the plan, you don't have to show those things. If you put them, it's going to be way too complicated on the plan. You can do a blow up section of that, and we're going to discuss that later on. But on the plan itself, you just put 2 walls, or 2 lines, or 3 if you have a veneer. Okay, but you don't specify everything very detailed. Now, going back to the walls. This is a 5-inch wall. But in reality, the way you break it down, or to get the 5, is that you're drawing the stud. The stud is supporting the wall. And then to the interior, you have a 1/2-inch gypsum board. So that from here to here, it's gypsum. This is the stud, which is what supports the wall. And then to the outside, you have a 1/2-inch sheathing. And then in there, you have the vapor barrier. And then to the sheathing, you have the siding. So this exterior. Okay. Now, one thing I want for you guys to look into. When you hear about 2x4 or 2x6, that's the name we give to the uh, to the stud. Okay, that's the name we give to the stud. But the actual size, it's half inch less. The actual size. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get a 2x4 and get your tape measurement and measure the width and the thickness and the height of that, it's going to be half inch less. So if, for example, a 2x4 in reality, it's 1.5 by 3.5. So when you're drawing, that's what you're drawing. So in other words, when they draw a 4-inch wall, okay, imagine this three, four. Yeah, imagine this is well, an exterior wall. Okay, so in reality, you can or you will draw it as a 4-inch wall. Okay, but for to simplify the dimensioning purposes, because if you draw it to the actual size, you're gonna be dimensioning with half inches everywhere, like this. Okay, so and I'll tell you an example. Again, this is a matter of preference. We work at we always round up like a 4-inch wall. If you're using a 4-inch stud, do a 4-inch. The wall, do a 4-inch. But in reality, it's it's 3.5 and half. That's 4.5. So we're 4 inches off. But it really didn't matter at the time we were drawing. And then we did a project one time, and the guy that we were working with, he wanted to do the walls the actual size. So we did. We would draw everything the actual size, 3.5, 1.5, or 5/8, whatever we need to put there. So at the time we were dimensioning, we were getting the real crazy dimensions, 5, 3, and 5/8, and it's very minimal technical. You don't have to do that. Okay, just draw it to the actual. If it's a 2x4, if that wall is gonna be framed with 4-inch stud, draw it 4 inches. Yeah, that's it. If that stud or that wall is gonna be framed with a 6-inch stud, just draw the wall 6 inches. Don't worry about all these technicalities. When you do your wall section, is where you actually specify all these things. Okay, so here that's how you break it down. This is a stud. This is a gypsum board on the inside, and then you have a sheeting, and then vapor barrier, which is right on it, and then sheeting on the exterior. Same thing, again exterior wall, but with a 2x6. So you have a 2x6, which in reality is 5.5, half-inch gypsum board, and then half-inch sheathing, and then your vapor, your I'm sorry, your yeah, sheathing and siding. This one is with brick veneer. Okay, so more than likely, if you have a house that has brick, or mainly that's what we used to have here, and I say used to because now everything we're doing a lot of stucco, which is something close, not that, but close to that. So you have your stud on the interior. You have your gypsum board, right? Your sheetrock. On the exterior, you have your sheathing, and then you have 1 inch airspace. Of course, you have your vapor barrier right on the sheathing, and then you have your brick, 4.5 or 4-inch brick. Now this could vary also, depends on the brick you're using. Okay, so the actual wall, an exterior wall with brick, it's 9.5, and this varies again. This varies, but with the point. So if we go back to to the plan that I showed you, to this one here. If we were to cut that, right, you have a exterior wall and then brick, and it's here is represented just with 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, and then from the second to the third, there's some hidden lines, not hidden, dashed lines there at 45. This represents the brick, and this represents the stud. See, here we don't draw everything. We just draw the stud and the brick, and that's it. But in reality, what you're looking at, and again, you have to picture these things when you're drawing. In reality, this is what you are drawing. The stud and the brick. But of course, you don't draw it like this. If you draw like this, it would be too messy on the plan. Okay? I'll stop right there because I got, and then I'll jump in, go into door symbols. Oh, something else. Some walls are going to be thicker than the other, like I told you. And let me see, what's here? Well, I'm going to show you that in a bit. Some walls are going to be thicker than the other ones. For example, and it's in the book. when you're working on walls, they're going to be behind the restrooms. Those are called plumbing walls. Those will be framed with a 2x6, and you see it right here. See, all this are framed with 2x4s, and you can see the sizes of it. It's the same. When you get behind this, where the toilet and the, I don't know what that is. Behind it, notice how it goes from a 4 to a 6. It gets thicker. Same thing here. These interior walls are 4, and then this one here, it's 6. It's just to put all the plumbing and all the piping that is needed, so you get more space there. Okay, so visually you know this is a 4, that's a 6. And again, you probably have a note somewhere there that tells you that's a 6-inch wall. I'll stop it here and then we'll continue.